The best in the world on this microphone, in this ring, even on commentary. It's VGC, a video game podcast with me, Jordan Midler, Chris Scullion and Andy Robinson. This week, it's Game Awards season. Yorkshire Tea want 150 quid off of you, and EA wants your voice in their games. But first, how are we doing, folks? Andy, sore head this morning?
No. I just popped into the pub last night to watch Man United get absolutely U-turned. Then what did I do? I came home, spent 2 hours trying to resist buying a Steam Deck, played a bit of Diablo, and then I went to bed. I had a lovely night's sleep, and here I am, all rested. That's
a very wholesome evening. It's astonishing to me that Andre Onana is somehow the worst goalkeeper in the Champions League in a tournament that includes Joe Hart. That's impressive, if anything. That should be record beating. Chris, do you think you're a better goalkeeper than Andre Onana?
I'd give it a go.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why not. I'm shocked at the moment because I've just found out that the actor who played Jimmy Corkhill in Brookside has died. God rest him, Dean Sullivan.
Why is the episode not dedicated to him?
I know, but I only just found out like 2 minutes before coming on. I can't believe you're expecting it to carry on.
Okay, we'll have a 10-bell salute.
It's such a state. One of the greatest cheesy moments in TV history was the last episode of Brookside, where the whole street's shut down and people have spray painted "Game Over" over all the doors in Brookside, and then Jimmy Corkhill sadly walks over to the Brookside Close street sign and takes out spray paint and changes it to Brookside Closed, and then does a wee smile and walks away, and that's the end. The end of Brookside.
Were people not going to live there? Like, what was were they demolishing the whole street, or were they just?
I think they were just cancelling the show. But I mean, I don't remember that. I don't actually remember why it ended or how it ended.
So these thugs have just destroyed this street for all these new families to move into, and they've just spray painted the whole gaff.
I'll be honest with you, it was a long time ago. The main storylines we all remember is the controversial lesbian storyline, the controversial incest storyline, and the controversial man under the patio storyline. Brookside was very much groundbreaking,
woke.
Literally in terms of the patio one.
What are we drinking this week, lads? Chris, have you given up on the Iron Brew energy drinks?
None of them, all 4 of them were mediocre at best.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with the Iron Brew Extra, the kind of sugar free.
Fair. Andy, I think last time you were here, you were talking about maybe getting into the energy drink game. Have you succumbed?
I had one of those amazing moments this morning. Like, for anyone like me who cannot operate without a coffee, I kind of turned on the coffee machine and realised that I'd run out of coffee capsules. I had a moment, like I'm not going to be able to function for this podcast. And I spanned the rotisserie round. There was just one capsule that had fallen out.
Nice.
Yes,
that's glorious.
You know you're going to have to get some today, or the exact same thing will happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I know it will. It absolutely
will. Okay, let's get into this week's headlines. Just for those keeping track, it's a white monster today. Not one of my favourites, but it was what was in the fridge. Story number 1: a new EA patent lets players apply their own voice to game characters. As spotted by Very Ali Gaming, the patent, which is named, quote, generating speech in the voice of a player of a video game, was filed in 2020 but was published last month. The patent describes a process in which players, quote, input data that represents speech content, which is then passed through a synthesizer module, a voice inverter, and a vocoder to generate new dialogue based on the sample.
That's how I do it. To be
fair. I was reading that and I was thinking that's a bit of a rudimentary way to do it.
I would have put the converter before the synthesizer, but what do I know?
Yeah,
it is quite a convoluted way to where the end result is that you could just talk over the gameplay yourself. It's me, Mario. Hello.
Everyone on Twitch does that anyway. Everyone who streams games on Twitch always does comedy voices
to replicate the voice of you who sat there and can speak.
Yeah,
exactly.
The patent explains that previous attempts at generating speech in games often involves text-to-speech systems where the game receives text and uses a synthesizer to generate audio speech. However, this patent says that, quote, such approaches usually require many speech samples, e.g. hours of speech samples, in order for the synthesizer to accurately capture the voice. And if a different voice is needed, the synthesizer would need to be trained again. This leads me to my question for you, Chris Scullion.
Hello.
What video game character would you like to apply your voice to the obscurer the better, and because it's you, and I know you'll answer something from like the Commodore Amstrad BBC Micro era, it has to have been voiced originally.
It has to. Oh, it has to have already had a voice. All right. Well, then in that case, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit from Epic Mickey 2: The Power of Two.
Are you one of the 3 people that actually played that game? Congratulations.
Listen, I love Oswald. I'm a big Oswald mark, as they say.
Is Oswald still kicking a ball? Is he still a going
back?
concern?
Disney bought the rights to him. Swapped the rights to him for ESPN or something like that back in the day. And so Oswald. In fact,
oh, here we go.
Maybe Oswald plush here.
He's Oswald fleshlight out.
The magic of the audio medium.
Chris Scullion is holding an Oswald the Lucky Rabbit plush.
He's certainly lucky.
Give us a blast of it. Give us a blast of your Oswald.
Well, no, because the whole point is it's my voice, isn't it?
No,
but this is my Oswald. Hello, Oswald here.
Voice actors do voices.
I know, but if I'm doing my own voice
situation,
if I'm putting a voice in an EA game, and the whole point is it's my voice, then I'm not going to put a daft voice on.
No, that's
all right, mate. Chris Scullion here. I'm just going to be myself.
I'm Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. I would like to voice one of the orcs that show up in the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games, so that when you go into your friend's game, your orc could pop up and go, "Oi, I killed you last week. I'm gonna kill you again. I know where your mum lives." I think that would be quite enjoyable. But Andy, as someone who already has a cartoon voice,
I think you two have nailed it. Actually, like, I mean, I was gonna say the merchant from Resident Evil 4, but it sounds like you guys would do a better job. What are you buying, you muck?
What are you buying? Come on, guys. Yeah, this is a strange one. Oh, Chris, has this fallen into the realm of patents that get patented that we never hear of again?
Probably, but you know, I don't mind this one. This seems to be a running theme on this podcast, which I'm not entirely comfortable with. Is me defending AI. Like every single time we do an AI story, I end up going, "This will be all right." I think one of the big fears about AI voice generation is people's voices being replicated without their consent, whereas you're very much giving your consent here. So I think it's fine. We've seen what like deep fake and voices and stuff are like these days, where you only really need 20 seconds of someone's voice and AI can generate whole like passages using that voice. So
but didn't like Nvidia blow this patent out of the water? Didn't they show earlier this year a technology where you could talk to an NPC for a microphone and it would just generate responses based on what a narrative designer had written about for the backstory of this character? And you could sit there and you could talk to them. And people put it into GTA mods and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. I think the difference is that when in those GTA mods, when the text is generated, it comes back as a kind of robotic sounding voice. Whereas this is the next step where it actually.
I mean, but it's first, it's early doors though, right? I mean, they'll improve that. Yeah. I mean, certainly I seem to remember the Nvidia demo being really impressive. I mean, that to me is the obvious, use of AI if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Does anyone really want their character to sound like them? Everyone hates the sound of their own voice, right? That's a stupid idea. Whoever came up with that patent at EA is a plonker.
Imagine playing Zelda and the whole argument over whether Link can speak or not, and then they throw in the new argument, well, what if he spoke like you?
Yeah.
Well, that's even worse.
Yeah, great.
than him speaking like anyone else. I'd be, no thanks.
Knowing Nintendo, they wouldn't actually tell you that it was voiced by you until the game came out. They'd be completely secretive about it.
The other problem is it throws up even more kind of copyright and like kind of issues, because if it's like the way AI, the whole point of this patent is that it doesn't need hours and hours and hours of samples. You can only presumably record like 20-30 seconds and that's enough. There's nothing to stop you holding the microphone up to a film and suddenly you've got Jack Nicholson playing Geralt or anyone from
Tommy
any
Wiseau.
movie you
and
want.
I'm pretty sure iPhone 15 already does this. Like the latest iOS, you can have it tell it to train based on your voice, and then all the dictation will be read in your voice. It already does that.
Yeah.
So this is a rubbish patent, a rubbish story about a rubbish patent. Let's move on.
Good job, EA.
Thanks, EA.
Wasted everyone's time, EA.
Merry Christmas. Thanks, Rachel. My iPad doesn't work with your charger. Story number 2. Publisher confirms Time Splitter Studios faces closure before Christmas. Studio Free Radical design faces closure before Christmas. Publisher PlayOn has privately acknowledged. VGC reported earlier this month that Free Radical was at the threat of being closed just 2 years after it was established as part of huge company-wide cuts at Embracer and its own publishers. Although Embracer has yet to publicly confirm Free Radical's position, sources told VGC that PlayOn has now acknowledged in a company email that the Nottingham UK-based studio could be closed on December 11th following the completion of the consultation process. Quote, as we move through the consultation process and face the potential closure of Free Radical Design on 11th December 2023, I want to express my gratitude for your commitment and the remarkable work you've done and still keep doing. Wrote PlayOn VP Worldwide Studios and Talent, Lars Janssen. Andy, you've been ferreting this one out. We're thinking this is it. People at Free Radical.
I think it's just like a natural progression of my last story, really. They're under UK employment law, you've got to be put into consultation for so long, right, based on how many employees you've got. So I think it's 30 days for them. They've got around 80 people, I believe. So this was always coming. It's always like in legalese speak, they have to say, oh, we're exploring possibilities and blah, blah, blah. But, there is a small chance that someone swoops in during that period, but for all intents and purposes, they just want to get rid of it, right? I mean, it's a ridiculous situation, another ridiculous situation for this preposterous, a capitalist monster that was just buying up stuff with little regard for the people who actually work for it, or probably their consumers. This studio was formed 2 years ago, reformed, after it had already closed, 10, 15 odd years ago, to make this game that fans have been waiting for, that had already been cancelled once before the first time they closed. And now they're being closed again. Like, it's just the amount of energy, the waste of energy and talent around this is just pretty disgusting. All of these people who've probably relocated and kind of dedicated 2 years of their life building this game that's now been shelved because somewhere else in their business the graph goes down. It's nonsense, to be honest. There's still a small chance that someone swoops in before the 11th of December, I think was the date. But from the Free Radical employees I've spoken to, no one's expecting that. There was even, after we published our story, I did note that I think a big reason why I published the first story, and a big reason why probably, various people wanted it out there, is because, if you're, we know what it was like for me and Chris when they closed CVG. When a company does that, they're quite happily for you they'll ask you not to tell anyone, right? Sit in silence and then just get made redundant, please. When actually you want people to know about it so that you can get a job, or hopefully someone buys you. That is in the interest of the employees. And it was nice to see after our first story, like a bunch of other kind of Midlands-based studios came out and guaranteed interviews for their employees. And I actually noticed yesterday, after this latest one, that Splash Damage quoted our tweet. I haven't got it in front of me, so this might be slightly wrong. And they basically said, we've already interviewed like a dozen of their employees and we've already given a dozen of them jobs. So, it's already happening. I think there is pretty much no chance of this decision being reversed.
The at Bulkhead also quote retweeted VGC.
Yeah, that's Splash Damage, yeah.
Oh, is that part of that? Okay. Still accepting applications, and 5 incredible developers have already been hired and several more will be sent their offer letters this week. So I'm not really au fait with that kind of part of the UK, but it seems like there's a lot of developers down there. There's potential, hopefully, for a lot of people. There's
tons of developers. We're one of the development hubs of the world, and especially right now after the pandemic, there's been such a demand for kind of experienced developers. I had even after my story, I had a bunch of people reach out to me and say, like, we without them sounding like malicious, like, oh, we actually need loads of people, we can help these guys. So yeah, hopefully they all land on their feet. But for me, it's just like, it's a big gap in your waste of your life, right? Everyone wanted to see that game. At least let the game come out and flop. You know, it's.
And the crap thing is the way games are made these days. It's not like they'll be in the future hope that their work will ever be kind of unearthed one day. Like you look now, you're constantly getting prototypes from the 8-bit and 16-bit all the way up to like the Dreamcast and PS2 era. People are sharing old discs with prototype versions of games. So games that never existed, you can still in the future, like hopefully someone will stumble upon this disc and you'll get to see what they were working on. But the way games are made these days, like nobody has like a disc. Those games will be kept on play on servers and probably deleted at some point, and we'll never get to see what they've been working on for the past 2 years. Like this will just disappear, and all their work will kind of presumably just be for nothing, and nobody will ever get to see it. Which is like depressing.
Even if you managed to like get the file or whatever, you would just be greeted with like a loading screen, like a menu screen that would like connect to the servers or whatever. So I imagine that this kind of thing happened, and it happened with Battlefront 3, as you say, that just videos of this game will come out, and the Time Splitters, man, what an absolute cursed license. Like I wonder how close that was to actual completion, and I wonder if anyone picks it up after this, because presumably Embracer will be selling anything they can for like a $5. Andy, has this Embracer?
Sorry, mate. Can we break here? I've got to get my dog in.
Yeah, go and get the dog. Me and Chris will talk about that bloody ludicrous display the other night. Why can't Celtic win in the Champions League, Chris?
Well, Jordan, I believe it mirrors the situation in the Scottish Premiership at the moment, where the financial gulf is so great that we can try our best but can't quite compete with the European elite. So as depressed as it is, I try not to get too upset about it, because we benefit from that week in, week out, and domestically, and so it'd be a bit rich of us to complain about it on a European scale, because it's exactly the same thing. So
yeah,
it is what it is. It's just this weird situation where the Europa League's our level, but we can't get into the Europa League because we keep winning the league and going into the Champions League.
Yeah,
and
just
then getting horsed and not being able to drop into the Europa League. It's like really frustrating.
Suffering from success.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a depressing campaign. We've only been absolutely pumped like once, so it's okay.
That's the thing. On paper, you look at the results, they go, "Oh, Celtic are awful," but when you watch every game, it's like, with the exception of the bumping and the first Feyenoord game where we got sent like the kind of red card,
we got sent it in the post.
We've been playing fine. Like we've been holding our own. It's just the results don't reflect that in the slightest.
Yeah.
And it's really disappointing. But yeah, it is what it is. At least we're there.
At least they got to meet the Pope, eh?
That's the important thing.
Speaking of the Pope, let's talk about the Catholic Church. Okay, Andy's back.
Sorry, she's having a blazing row with a pigeon.
Is she winning?
I have no idea. If screaming is the metric, then
there he is. Here she is. A cameo on the podcast. More dogs on the pod, if you ask me. Terrible stuff, and a crap year that will probably continue. Chris, I've got sad news for you.
Go on. It's not somebody else from Brookside has died. somebody from El Dorado.
somebody from Home and Away. Sega says Sonic Superstars had, quote, a weaker start than anticipated. Oh, never mind that. There's a dog on the pod video. If you're an audio only listener, get on the video right now, because there's a dog on the pod. Look at that tiny thing. He's
right. Yeah.
She's going to behave. Quote, this is from Sega. Sonic Superstars was released in October, which is a slightly weaker start than we'd anticipated, but in reality, when the Sonic IP sells the most is mainly November to December, and more than 90% of this title's marketing costs will be spent in the Thanksgiving and holiday season from November onwards. Chris, why on earth did they release this game alongside the first new 2D Mario in about 700 years?
It's unbelievable. They're coming out saying, that's weird, the Sonic game didn't sell as well as we hoped. So you came out 3 days before Mario.
I wonder what happened there.
What the hell did you think? We think everyone was going to go, actually, never mind Mario, Sonic's back again for the first time in a year. Do you know, it's a good game. That's the thing. I'm not concerned about it. Like, it will continue to sell. It just won't. Obviously, its peak is passing. By all accounts, it did well during Black Friday, but it's one of those annoying stories, because the amount of Sonic defenders that were on Twitter last night after we wrote this story, loads of people on all the Sonic fans coming out saying, this doesn't mean it's a failure. This doesn't mean it's a failure. It's like, I didn't say it was. I'm just saying that, like, I'm literally quoting Sega. Sega themselves have said it didn't sell as well as we'd hoped. Like, I'm not, our story, we're not, someone thought we were doing a hit piece on Sonic. It's like, we're literally quoting Sega. What do you want me to say? So I said, this was, they said this before Black Friday. It's like, aye, but they were disappointed then. They still were. It's like, it's fine. It'll do okay. It'll sell fine. It's got good review scores. Chill.
Yeah, bit odd, that one, right?
Yeah.
Very odd. I don't know why they did that. There must be, if there was a Chris String in here, I'm sure he'll add some sort of explanation, because there must be one, because it seems bonkers, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fine. I don't understand why they were why they even had to say that. I suppose the financials, they have to say, oh, the first kind of they
just lie.
They would have had predictions, and obviously the predictions weren't met. But it's like, so what? It'll do well. It'll keep selling.
Yeah,
Don't worry, Sonic fans. Everything's okay. You're enjoying a good period just now. Just enjoy it while it lasts, because we know with Sonic these things don't always last.
I mean, we got to see Shadow's feet yesterday, so it was pretty exciting. Did you see that the absolute Sonic nerds, the Alex Donaldsons of the world, were freaking out about the logo for the new film being the same logo as Adventure 2? Because this is, I'm a man that has a Christmas Pikachu that's sitting next to him, so I get it. It's just I just don't get why Sonic, you know? Chris, why Sonic? Think about it for a minute. Philosophize why Sonic.
Because he's a rad dude with a tood, I believe. Is a tood being short for attitude, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah. The Tood era, my favourite wrestling period.
The Tood era. It's just Sonic's Sonic is the. I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. If Mario,
it's nostalgia, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Sonic was for the slightly older kids who thought they had an attitude, like that. Your wee brother played Mario and you played Sonic, that kind of thing. So Sonic is for the cool kids, or the kids who thought they were cool.
So your wee brother played some of the greatest games ever made, and you played Pish, essentially.
To be fair, I'll defend Sonic. I do like it. I do like a Sonic game.
The thing is, I loved Sonic when I was a kid. I was probably a bigger Sonic fan than I was a Mario fan when I was a kid. But let's be real, Sonic has not been great for like best part of 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So I guess nostalgia plays a huge part, and I get that. Like, I watch, as someone who's not really paid attention to the Sonic games much since Dreamcast. But was a big fan. Like, I got a big, kind of thrill out of those films, right? Like the nostalgia and stuff like that. But I don't know why. I guess it's just one of those fan bases where when you've suffered so much, you get a bit culty, backs to the wall. It's like Arsenal fans, basically, just being abused and rubbish. And
there's lots of extremes when you talk about Sonic. Like, the Sonic fan base love absolutely everything. And there are people who hate everything about Sonic, but I've always been kind of like Mario games have been consistently excellent. Sonic games have been consistently.
I mean, like, what's the worst Mario game of the last 20 years?
Sunshine.
Yeah. You bang on as well. You couldn't have been quicker. Sunshine's the worst one. Yeah.
Yeah. And even then,
what's the second worst one?
New Brothers 2 on the Wii.
I really like that, but
really?
You're probably right.
Yeah.
But both of those would be like the best Sonic games.
Yeah. Easily. If Sonic got a game as good as Sunshine, the Sonic fans would be talking about it for 50 years.
Sonic games have been consistently okay.
Yeah.
You'll get good ones, like Mania was excellent, Superstars was excellent, but for the most part, they've been like 6, 7 out of 10 games. And
I can't wait to play Superstars as well. Like, and again, that says a lot that I've not played it. Because I was busy playing bloody Mario Wonder. Yeah, well, for the second time.
You mean this sealed Mario?
Oh, here we go. Every week he flaunts it.
That is unbelievable. You've not, like, Chris, our official Nintendo magazine's Chris Scullion has not played Mario Wonder, has not played Tears of the Kingdom, and has not played Pikmin 4. You need to hand in your Nintendo card, mate. Give it back. In his Xbox hoodie, but he's played like Forza.
Yeah,
and all the rest. He's not in. Yeah.
He's completed Redfall.
Need to put some achievements on Pikmin 4, don't they? You'll be well in there.
we're not getting into the review code debate in public. But the point is that Mario Wonder is my reward for finishing my book, and I've been steadfastly.
What are the other two rewards for?
Just living, just making it to 40 without having to dye my hair.
Yeah,
that's the result. Still having dark hair.
I really hope you enjoy Mario Wonder in those 30 seconds between finishing this book and starting the next one. You'll probably get through like 1 or 2 levels, and that'll be you.
I'm quite jealous, actually. That is an amazing Christmas game.
Yeah,
like like where you'd have Christmas games when you're kids, but ones as you get a little bit older, you'd save one for Christmas, right? I haven't done that for probably 10 years. Mario Wonder is a tremendous Christmas game.
I think that might actually be subconsciously why I'm doing it as well, because like I joined the Fish and Terror magazine in 2006, and I've done most of the Mario games, and like I've always, it's like when you review these things, you have to hammer through them. I've not been able to sit down and enjoy a Mario game since probably Sunshine, like without having to rush it. I think I'm getting myself that Christmas feeling again. Is like this? No, I'm going to have like a Christmas game again, like I used to.
And you know what as well? It's great in multiplayer. Like I play it with, I'm playing it again with my daughters, and it's brilliant just to like have them, kind of lead it, and you can kind of help out a little bit. It's a much better multiplayer game than the previous ones, because they hated new Super Mario Bros. U, because, and this is a problem that I had with those new Super Mario Bros. Games as well, is that they made the multiplayer like purposely antagonistic.
Yeah.
I've nicked all your stuff. I've jumped off your head and you're dead. And, I bumped into you and you didn't make the jump. Great. That's fun. Yeah, I'm having a great time.
That's grim. Also, Sonic Superstars also not good in co-op.
No.
I'll just warn you in advance. It's too fast. It's like and as soon as you go off the screen, you kind of come back in like a bubble type thing. And because it's so fast, whoever goes first, everyone else gets knocked off the screen instantly. It's like it doesn't work. Nobody in their right mind should have thought Sonic would work as a 4-player co-op game.
I've not, well, obviously, really poured one out for sad old me. I've played every game this year, so I have nothing to play over Christmas. It's a really tragic episode. Although I'm pretty sure I'll get a review code before Christmas that I can be playing. But
play Forza.
Yeah, I have played Forza and it looks nice, but I'm completely broken on semi racing games. I can't play them for more than a couple of races. I need somewhere that I can go and sit down and really think about the history of cars, perhaps with a latte,
cafe, like a kind of Gran Turismo style cafe, is what
something like that. Something that I can just have a wee cup of tea and a biscuit, and I can be told how the combustion engine.
I love how
works.
Chris just totally missed the satire there.
Yeah,
what you mean? You mean like Gran Turismo?
No, I got
yes,
it.
That was a joke. Yeah,
I got it. I just it was more for the benefit of the listeners who haven't played it and therefore didn't get it. I thought I'd just join the dots, fill them in.
That's one for the heads. That's one for the people that know that we make fun of Gran Turismo every week on this podcast. After we come back, we've got a Jeff Keighley triple header and a controller made out of tea. We'll see you in a minute. And we are back. Thank you for your promotional consideration, whoever's sponsoring us this week. Chris, who's sponsoring us this week?
Awkwardly, I believe it's a box set of Brookside.
So
I mean, the price of that's going to rocket.
Yeah, I imagine so. When I worked in HMV briefly, every time a musician died, we would get an email being like, "Following the sad news of Gary Glitter's untimely passing."
Sell.
Yeah, like they had a stand that they would bring out, and it would be like remembering whoever, and then exactly. The Undertaker was just standing next to it, like, "Oh, get your whoever died CD."
So when you brought it out, did the other members of staff ask you what are you doing, Jordan? You just said, "Oh, I'm just deaf standing."
Nice. That's good. That's strong.
What
was the year everyone died? Was it 2016? They might have well just kept it on the floor the entire time. Yeah,
Bowie died that year. A lot of people tarked it. It was a good moment on BBC Radio that year when Bowie died. They came on the news and they're like, this morning we're starting with the news that David Bowie has died, and for a wee minute everyone was like, yes, and I was like, oh no, no David, no Big Dave, no foreign sec David Bowie. we have a Jeff Keighley triple header. Keighley's all over the shop. He's ready for the Game Awards. Do you know who's going to be at the Game Awards? Who's going to be presenting Game of the Year? It's one Andy Robinson. If you do get to present Game of the Year, Andy, and
do you know it's quite bad because I was actually there last year, right? And I can't remember who won Game of the Year. I was sat there earlier thinking, who won Game of the Year last year? I can't remember.
The only reason I remember it being Elden Ring.
So you can't remember either?
Elden Ring.
Oh, that's
right.
It was Elden Ring, but I only remember
it
as Elden Ring because the guy rushed the stage after.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Usually they get the previous winner to hand out Game of the Year, right? So maybe they're going to get that kid. Hand out Game of the Year. Because you got to think that Miyazaki's not flying over to give give Baldur's Gate Game of the Year.
Yeah. Although if they get that kid to do the in fact, I can't even. Well, I can't. They've already. I'm not going to talk about it, but there's a moment in Alan Wake 2 that kid could replicate wonderfully. Anyway, let's get some Keighley news going. Speaking of that kid, the Game Awards security will be tightened to prevent another stage invasion. This is Jeff Keighley as part of one of his live streams. Both the Game Awards 2022 and Gamescom Opening Night Live were disrupted by unauthorized people. I love that phrase. You're not an authorized person. You're not lanyarded coming onto the stage.
Maybe they're just going to give Jeff a gun.
Give him a samurai sword. The incidents have raised concerns for the safety of Keighley and other guests who take the stage to give and receive awards and discuss upcoming games. In a Q&A stream on Twitch, Keighley was asked if he'd be taking more security measures for this year's show. Keighley said he was, but he didn't want to go into specifics for would-be invaders who wouldn't know the security plans in advance.
It's going to be held in like a MMA octagon.
It says, yeah, there'll be 2 guards here and 2 guards there, and we'll leave a gap here. So just if anyone's taking notes.
I like to picture that, have you seen clips of Pink on her recent tours where she gets hooked into like a circus harness and gets thrown like across the arena? I would like that to be Jeff's escape plan. So if anyone steps foot on stage, he just gets launched to the other side of the arena and he still keeps going. Talks about Schick Hydrobot. Quote, "We definitely have plans that we're trying to do all we can to keep me safe, but also everyone watching the show, the audience, and people participating in the show and everything. I feel quite safe being here, but I do appreciate you, Jeff."
I'm glad they want us to be safe.
Yeah, we're going to get 2 heavies turning up at the door. I've just got Tom Ivan with an AK-47. It's certainly something we're thinking about. We appreciate the concern. Andy, you were in the room when it happened. How long before people realised something was up? Was there a wee nudge, like who is this wee guy with this?
Do you know what? I'm getting. I don't know if this says more about how much I had to drink there, or how old I'm getting. But I don't even remember it. I don't remember it at all. I think at that point, all I was thinking was, how quickly can I get out to the hotel bar? Because there was a lot of people there, right? Yeah. And those, for people who've ever been to LA Live, those tables in the JW Marriott are highly sought after. Like, you need to get out and get yourself a table because you're securing your future for the next 6 hours. You get one of those tables. So I probably wasn't even watching at that point. I don't think it helped that I got sat like my seats, right? They were sort of like, so at the theatre, I don't think they do like the top floor, the top tier, or whatever you want to call it. They kind of do the ground floor seats, the good ones. So they don't fill the whole place. And I was sort of like midway to the front and to the left. And in front of me was just like, there were the seats on the side were like, there were no seats on the front or the side. That was just like for production staff and stuff. And so I was like at the front of the left, like halfway to the stage. I was like, oh, these are quite good. Yeah. And then once they started, I just had a big crane in front of me, a camera crane. So I basically had to watch the thing on some guy's monitor, like who was on a crane. So I probably didn't even see it, probably looking at the crane.
So you're basically the Chris Kamara of the Game Awards.
If you ask me,
did he?
I thought that was a developer.
I don't know, Jeff Keighley.
Do you know as well? Like it's almost like it's the football thing, right? For those of us who go to live football often, you can relate to this. That when you're actually there, you don't see as much as you do on the television because you guys watching at home, you've got all the audio. Like they're like, oh, so you hear him say Bill Clinton, and oh, sorry, and you might even have a commentator. Obviously, in the case of football, telling you what's happening. When you're in the room, you're just like, what? What was? It's like, because I'm just see like a blob in the distance on the stage. What was that? Did something happen? Yeah, there's a rumor spreading that something happened. Did it? Man on Reddit says this.
Yeah.
We need to get Ali McCoy commentating the Game Awards going forward. I think we could probably make that happen, Chris. We could have a word. What's the guy that does all the flowery stuff? Peter Drury, is that him? The commentator that does the big long soliloquies about every player. It's like it's the boy who became a boy at Chelsea, who became a man at Liverpool, who became a man again at Chelsea, and it's literally like Reece James taking a throw in. It's like, calm down, mate. It's not that big a deal.
My favourite one. I don't think he's with us anymore. I'm sure it was called Dick Donnelly. And he used to do during Scottish football on the radio. He used to do all the Dundee games because he lived up north and he had this really nasally like up north accent. So they'd always cut. Well, so we'll see what Dick Donnelly has to say. And he'd go, "Yeah, join us here at a dreich and drizzly Dens Park, Dundee." It's just like the most garbage chat for the most miserable game. But yeah.
Sadly, Charles Richard Donnelly, aka Dick, left us in 2016. So
2016 again. It was Prince, Bowie, and Dick Donnelly.
Get the death standing out.
HMV had the best of Dick Donnelly.
Next story. The Game Awards host and producer says, Jeff Keighley says that he's considering a best remake and best supporting actor. Chris, a best remake, do you think, I'm not going to ask Andy about this because I'm going to let him charge up his remake versus remaster engines because
bored of it.
No one loves this chat more than Andy Robinson. Good idea, best remake. I mean, Resident Evil would absolutely sweep it this year, but
but then what happens next year? Hee-haw. So no.
The Last of Us Part 2.
No.
That's a remaster.
No.
Andy, an award, good idea, bad idea?
I think it's a great idea. I think the you see, like, from the reception to that story that we've put out, that I think there's a lot of interest. I mean, every kind of player of video games now kind of knows what a remake is, without getting into the details of remake versus remaster. I think it's something that players care about. I mean, to Jeff's point, I used to run the Golden Joysticks for a couple of years, so I get that. That it is difficult in terms of making categories that are going to be consistently relevant. So he said, like, there might not always be a remake, but for me, I just do remake or re-release, best remake or re-release, or something like that, right? I mean, I guess you're delving a bit too close to that. Oh, they just put Cyberpunk Game of the Year edition or whatever, but there's always going to be now consistently remakes and remasters every year. Like, I'd love to kind of actually sit down and analyze that and go, well, have there been any gap years recent where there haven't been many? Yeah. I think they should do it, absolutely. And best supporting actor as well. I think that obviously gives more recognition to people who are kind of behind the screen, so to speak, behind the camera on these games, because there's now way too many of them for just one category. Yeah. I think they should do both, personally.
The problem is, if you do best remake, they'll just go and nominate Dave the Diver anyway. He'll end up winning it. But
this is the problem. Like, you're at the behest of the in this case, the media outlets. Mm-hmm. My personal opinion is, I think the Game Awards is the best run gaming awards. Mm-hmm. I think it's better than BAFTA. I think it's better than the Golden Joysticks and all the others that you would name the big hitters.
Agreed.
And I think part of that is that, I mean, again, without blowing our own horn, because obviously we are a media outlet. Woo! I think the best people for this job are critics.
Agreed.
They are. Like, I mean, I went and worked in game development for 4 or 5 years, and I went in thinking, wow, like, here we go. Going to meet the real experts here. And again, without putting them down, like, they are experts in making games, but they don't have time to play everything. Yeah. They don't. They're making games. Yeah. Like, people think like, Corey Barlog and Drew Druckmann and stuff like that. Neil Druckmann are like the real, like, they play everything and they know everything inside out. They don't have time to play everything inside out. They're too busy making their games. And if anything, a lot of them might even consider it as somewhat of a distraction. Mm-hmm. So the real experts in the professional landscape of what games are good are critics that are playing everything, right? There are very few people out there, consumers, who play everything and also, are critically astute. Like I was the freelancers that they were my go-to. You know, the freelancers that have to review absolutely every game, and that's why you kind of see, like, on the critical side on game sites, innovation gets overly rewarded and iteration gets overly punished, right? Because the guys reviewing these games play everything.
Yeah.
Like, it always, like, I remember it opened my eyes once when I was on CBG like 10, 15 years ago, where I was at the football or something, and some friend I had there was telling me about some game he was really enjoying, and we'd given it like a 6 out of 10, and like everyone had like kind of like given it middling reviews, and he's like, I absolutely loved it. And it was a real eye-opening moment, because it's like, but the perception of someone who plays 2 games a year, he doesn't care if this is a massive knockoff and not particularly stand out within its genre. He doesn't care, whereas a critic does. Right, I've digressed massively here anyway, but so what was even the original question?
That's better than what my original
They
question
basically, like, so the Game Awards is, for those who don't know, they have 130 outlets across the world, including VGC, who vote basically for, you know, the nominations, and then we put our winners in, and that's kind of mixed with a public vote as well, which takes up a portion. I mean, nothing's perfect. But I personally think this is the way to go. I don't disagree with any of the winners, many of the winners of the past. You know, again, as someone who worked on the other system when I was briefly on the management team for the Golden Joysticks, which is entirely public voted, the developers really care about that. Really, like, you know, when I was at the award, like From Software and stuff like that, like when they won Game of the Year there, you could it really mattered to them that it came from the fans. Mm-hmm. However, as someone who was behind the scenes, trying to manage a public voted awards is a nightmare compared to something like this. I mean, people are here saying, oh, Dave the Diver's not an indie game. That is a small crumb compared to the absolute nonsense you have to put up for when the public are picking everything, because they will just vote for whatever they've heard of. You know, you have to be so on with your categories, because if they don't resonate with the audience, people just vote for. It's like you do like stuff like, I think we like Best Family Game, and you got core gamers voting for this, right? They don't care. They go Guitar Hero win every year. Guitar Hero, I've heard of that. You know, best graphics, I've heard of this game. You know, Diablo, yeah, whatever. And also, like, really putting thought into it.
And also, on the other hand, you get people who care too much about specific games, and you end up with like skewed.
Oh yeah, it becomes like a community.
You get like a World of Tanks situation where every single person who loves World of Tanks is told to go and vote for it. So World of Tanks wins, and everyone else is like, what?
It's skewed massively. I mean, it's interesting though, because I'm sure because I understand that because they had one publicly voted award at the Game Awards, and I think their website right now you can vote for, like, nominate your game, and someone managed to extract the data of like what's leading, and I think someone said bar one game, the Game of the Year nominations are exactly the same as the critic ones, and I'm sure it was Cyberpunk, which was the exception. And it's like, well, they've got a massive community which they've probably pushed to go and vote. I mean, as someone who has first-hand knowledge of that, well, the Golden Joysticks, the CBG, I was in charge of like speaking to all of our editors and coming together with the nominations. We saw all the votes in in real time. You know, I did absolutely everything other than the running of the event itself, and that made a huge difference. If it was a company that had a big community that was willing to push them, then they've got a big chance, right?
Yeah, it's. I do wonder I think maybe this is going to make me sound like a total dick, but there's a lot of people that vote for the Game Awards that obviously can't play as many games as someone who's in the mines 24/7, and I have often wondered if there's a place for like an expert panel of like, you have to have played everything to get onto this kind of thing.
Well, I mean, these are what do you mean? Like, I mean, there's 130 outlets. So you look at them all on there. Their teams would review pretty much everything.
No, I'm talking about individuals though, like someone who can say confidently that they have played everything that is on that list. If there's because you know the way that BAFTA do it, there's like a group of like 10 people that basically.
But I mean, we get to BAFTA. BAFTA is a completely different problem, because the thing with BAFTA is that it's professionals within the games industry who are willing to pay money to be on BAFTA, who then get sent 50 million games, which you can't possibly play as an individual. Like, it's not like I mean, it's from the film model, right?
Yeah.
You send someone all the films for the year, you can bash them out. Like, they're an hour, 2 hours long, right?
Yeah.
You're not doing that with 40-hour game, like, 140-hour games. So BAFTA has the opposite problem, where obviously the games themselves, companies themselves have to pay to put their game forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not everything. And the juries are they're professionals, right? So again, like, they're a mix of like game developers and like community managers and publishing staff, and all like very, very knowledgeable people in the game space, who absolutely should have a say. But for me, like, you can't expect a panel, of people who haven't been able to play everything to be choosing the winners. Because again, you look at the BAFTAs, the stuff that wins is usually the stuff that's the most accessible. I mean, I was not surprised in the slightest when Vampire Survivors won Game of the Year, because they can all play it in 5 minutes. Final Fantasy 14 or big MMOs not winning Game of the Year anytime soon, because none of them will play it.
Yeah.
It's a different issue.
Very quickly, last Keeley story. He's getting rid of the world premiere because he wants first looks and reveals and things to stand side by side. Chris, what do you think of this? Because personally, that makes me a bit sad, because I think the world premiere is a bit hype, and I like hype because I like games.
I'm delighted it's going.
Really?
Because I've had arguments in the past during, like, while working on these things, like when we've been covering them. I don't know if it's been certainly at VGC, but certainly in the past, whenever you got like world premiere, I would actively be arguing with people while we were trying to do work, saying, "This isn't a premiere. This isn't like a lot of it is like trailers for games we already know about." And by my definition, that's not a world premiere. That's like a new trailer of a game. In my definition, a world premiere is you have never heard of this, and this is a big.
Well,
that's really interesting, because I would. When Jeff was talking about, because he was talking exactly in terms that you are, right? Like, there was stuff existing, but world premieres, they're premiering the trailer.
Well, in that case,
the trailers are world premiere.
Well, in that case, every single thing they're showing that.
Well, that's what they're saying. So they're taking the branding off.
Yeah, which is correct, because unless you should only be saying world premiere if it's a game nobody's ever heard of, and if that's not the case, then if you're going to say it for everything, then punt it, because it becomes. But it might as well just say, "Here's a trailer," because that's what it means then at that point. Every single thing they show us.
I think it's a shame. I think it should keep it.
I think it should keep it, but only for new games.
Yeah, I agree that it should be
to differentiate between.
Not exist.
So when it says world premiere, you go, "Oh, wait a minute! Here's a new announcement,
trailer.
No, here's trailer 3 for Call of Duty."
You've seen this before,
exactly.
Very quickly before the next story, Chris, favorite reveal ever? While you're thinking about this, I'll say PlayStation Experience Last of Us Part 2 for me. Chris, your favorite reveal?
It's got to be the Zelda one when Miyamoto came out with the sword.
What was that? Was that Skyward Sword?
It was Twilight Princess, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was there. That was amazing. That's my top 2 press conferences that I've been at. I can't choose which one's the best one.
What was number one? The Konami one with the wrestlers in it.
so that one, that was E304, I want to say, and they announced the Nintendo DS. And at the time, it was like, I mean, obviously, it seems like really like antiquated now, but it was like, here's a brand new Metroid game running on Nintendo DS, and he was like, "Oh my god!" Like a big 3D first-person shooter. Here's Mario 64 running on what? Like a freak. Before that, you got GBA, Super Nintendo graphics, right?
Yeah.
It was incredible. We didn't know that exactly the same time Sony was showing PSP, which obviously made it look rubbish. But you're in that, and you're like, "Oh, that's amazing!" I think they had Metroid Prime 2, Resident Evil 4. And then that trailer at the end, everyone just went ballistic, because around that time everyone there was so much resentment towards the Wind Waker because of obviously how they changed the art direction. But probably topping that was the PlayStation, was it 15 or 16? Shenmue, you're never beating.
16.
You're never
Shenmue,
beating. You're never beating back-to-back Last Guardian, Shenmue 3, Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah,
I don't give like a toss about any of those games really. Like I've never been a big like Team Ico guy. I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy. Shenmue like is just way out of my rearview mirror now. But even I was like, whoa, oh my god! In the room, it was like incredible. Like that's why we need to go back to in-person stuff. You're just never replicating that from a crappy live stream.
No, agreed.
Where is Hip Hop Gamer? We need him back.
Hip Hop Gamer was there going mental. Of course he was.
It's slightly disappointing anytime we're covering a Nintendo Direct or one of these things, and we're all in a chat like similar to this, right? And something big for me will happen, and I'll go, oh, and everyone's just going to swap, sitting with a blank expression on their face. I'm like, but they're bringing back another code, and so
who cares?
Gives a shit.
I think Nintendo have never been really big for it, to be fair. Like they always like. I mean, obviously they've been doing directs now for like 10 years, but even before that, like a lot of the Wii stuff was, it wasn't positioned for the megaton. It was more like, let us show you how the balance board works for like 5 years before that.
Do you remember? Everyone remembers. Remember the awful Wii U one, where when they first showed the Wii U, it must have been 15 minutes showing that Luigi's Mansion Nintendo Land minigame. Like try to say, look, this is how asymmetric multiplayer works, and everyone's like, mate, you've lost us. Like we don't care. You're giving us a tutorial here that's lasted forever. To get a move on.
I was also at the Sony 2006, I think it was, at the Sony Pictures lot, the Ridge Racer.
Ridge Racer.
Oh man, like I was so jet lagged as well because I think it was quite late because usually they do them in the olden days. I think it would be Xbox would do the day before, so it's probably like Sunday or something, and then on the Monday it would be Nintendo in the morning first thing, and Sony wouldn't do theirs too stupidly late. It was really weird, like because the others were positioned so that in Europe and everywhere they could watch it. But they would do theirs late. So for those of us susceptible to jet lag, God, I was super jet lagged, and they're showing me that bloody game Africa with the rhinos, like, ears just fluttering. And here's Ridge Racer.
That is peak old Sony. You'd never get an Africa these days.
In hindsight, we all long for that crazy bonkers Sony now, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like, in Africa to Jim Ryan, who'll slap you across the face.
I do remember those days, like when Sony went on really late, because when we were at Future, we'd be covering it, and we were like literally at the office like 3-4 in the morning. With the security guard coming in and going, what's going on? Like, don't ask.
Yeah.
And then trying to somehow get home in London, like just before they did all night tubes. It's just absolutely brutal.
Before all night tubes, before Ubers.
Yeah. Just walk, mate. Get stabbed to ribbons.
Worth it.
Final very well.
Worth it for the premiere of Tokyo Rain.
Final story: Yorkshire Tea is selling 150 quid PS5 and Xbox Series XS controllers. They've been designed by Pope Art, whoever he is, and come with a certificate of
he's the guy that does he does like loads of like Xbox kind of like fan skins and designs and stuff like that. He's quite well known on social media among the kids.
No, I'm not interested, mate. The design on the controllers is meant to emulate a box of Yorkshire Tea. I asked the VGC Maniacs what product or what anything really they would like to see collaborated with a controller. Our friend of the show, Lucy James, says Pickled Onion Monster Munch, which brought to mind that I've not had a Monster Munch in years. Maybe
every time I go to Japan, my friends there ask me to bring them packs and packs of it.
Really? Why?
Dan Robson, who edits IGN Japan, I bought him like a massive multi-pack. And he said his daughter just ate the lot in like one sitting. He got like,
devastating. See, I prefer the beef ones. I know
really?
that's an unpopular
opinion. They are all good. They are all good.
Yeah. How do you eat a Monster Munch, Chris? Is that correct answer?
Usually orally. Tends to work better. Tend to get most of the nutrients that way. I just eat marijuana. I don't bother with it. You don't get idiots who like do it a toe at a time and like.
You've got to enjoy it.
Nah.
There will come a time where they don't make Monster Munch anymore. That is on the endangered species.
There'll come a time
list.
in your life where you don't have a lot of free time and you can't spend 20 minutes in a bag of crisps.
I certainly won't, brother. Think anyone's going to procreate with me? Don't worry about that. I'll be fine. We have from our friend Timur Hussain a wee Bombay Mix controller. Yeah.
Tomorrow used to sit there with like a, like a what's the name of like a Costco wholesale bag of Bombay Mix. That'd be him at 2 a.m. covering that Sony conference with his Bombay Mix.
Definitely. Glory days.
A good suggestion. There's Frazzles. Can you still get Frazzles?
Oh, you can't beat Frazzles. What a crisp! Amazing.
What a crisp!
What a crisp! Frazzles. You ever had a Frazzle sandwich?
No, I'm not a crisp sandwich man. I don't.
I might have crisp sandwich now.
On the podcast, just eat it into the mic. Between your dog going mental and the crisp sandwich, it's a real audio cornucopia this week.
The thing is, she likes a crisp as well, so she will be going mental.
Yeah, my dogs like crisps too.
We're dangerously verging on. Do you remember Opal Fruits territory?
Opal Fruits
and Marathon Bars.
That was from Rosalie over at PC Games, and this is, as you say that, this is a lot of old school shit. Although Aaron Bain, friend of the show, a wee MD 2020, but to be fair, MD 2020 is basically the color palette of all these Xbox controllers they keep shitting out. It's just absolutely radioactive nonsense. But Chris, product crossover with a controller.
Iron Brew's obvious. That's an obvious answer.
They'll make an Iron Brew controller and not let you have one.
Don't get me started. Like they've got their wee kind of group of Scottish influencers who they give all their crap to, and I've never been part of it, despite flying the flag for all these years.
That's the place to be, mate. If you want Xbox shit, you got to be in their circle.
Speaking of influencers, I think my dream controller would be a Mr. Beast themed controller.
Oh, nice.
And every time you press the share button, it does a really kind of self-congratulatory YouTube video about how to make sure that everyone knows that you've shared something.
Yeah. I cured 2,000 people's blindness with his big, bright white teeth. By the way, there's a good YouTube extension that will put like Mr. Beast on any YouTube thumbnail. So it's just like that picture of him being like, across anything. It'll be like
what I'd love to
footage
see
from the war in Gaza with Mr. Beast, like, which is enjoyable. Andy, what's your favourite product?
Other than VGC, of course.
Other than VGC, the greatest product.
Beef hula hoops are quite good, aren't they?
Oh, a wee beef hula hoop. Although I feel like, see when you eat a hula hoop,
beef McCoy's. Do you know those new crisps they brought out? And it's absolutely, their product sale is right on point. The Walker's, are they called Max?
Those ones are
the ones that are supposed to be tastier for people on the booze. I got some in a train station. I think a train was delayed, and it's like, these are amazing. I went back and got another pack.
Yeah, even as someone who doesn't drink, the cheese and whatever the hottest ones are, the cheese and those cheese and jalapeno or something, but they're fantastic.
They are very good crisps.
Crisp.
They just made a pack of crisps based on like a recipe from 20 years ago before they like halved the size of the contents in the bag, took all the flavour out.
I tell you what I don't like. I'm not a fan of the salt and shake.
I've never been salt and shake.
I think I had a bad memory with salt and shake once at school. Where...
Did you accidentally just eat the salt?
No. So for those not familiar, from those across the continent who don't know, it's basically a bag of crisps or chips, if you will, and you came a wee blue sachet of salt that you would pour in, and then shake the bag. But I was rather vigorous with my shaking, so I put the salt in, closed the bag, and shook it like mad, and basically the top of the bag ripped off, and the crisps just spilled all over the floor. I get 0 crisps from that bag. So yeah, ever since then, salt and shake can piss off.
Vigorous shaking, it will make you go blind. Before we go, I went to see the first 4 episodes of Pokemon Horizons. There is a review on the site. That was good fun. I got to meet Captain Pikachu, which was a lifelong goal of mine. The craziest thing is, see inside those big Pikachu costumes, if you get too close, you can just hear because they've got fans like shooting onto the
I'm not
people's
surprised.
faces. Yeah. And I was just thinking, like, when it was 5,000 degrees in Japan over the summer, they had like a big Pokemon parade, and it was all of people in those costumes.
Yeah, they do it every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
See when Captain.
I was about to say, like, I went to one of those parades they have in Japan every summer. Man, it's like Japan's like hotter than the sun.
Yeah.
In the summer. Like, I can't think of anything I'd rather do less than be in a Pikachu costume doing a dance in Japanese summer.
You'd lose some amount of weight, to be fair.
See when Captain Pikachu faints.
Mhm.
Do you think his daughter like builds a Pika spa? Move on. That was my Captain Tom reference for the month.
Oh, someone Photoshop that joke going up to heaven with Captain Tom.
I already regret it. So
Matthew Perry and Alan Rickman and Johnny Brookside, whatever his name was.
Alan Rickman, that's going back a bit.
That was 2016. That was also 2016.
Fair enough.
Theme of the podcast. Oh, I wish I'd died in 2016. Chris, you play any games this week?
It's mostly Game Boy stuff, to be honest. What did I play? And FIFA.
What, you playing Game Boy stuff in Adolf?
The Game Boy Encyclopedia. It's going to be quite the tome.
Where can you get it?
Anywhere, mate.
Apart from up my arse.
Anywhere that sells it. Anywhere that sells, funnily enough, beef Monster Munch will also probably sell the Game Boy Encyclopedia.
You can get it at my local spa. That's
Pound shop.
It's not reached pound shop stage yet. I'm hoping for. Do you get the Works in England? Is that just a Scottish thing? Do you get the Works, like the kind of bookshops?
I think so. Yeah.
That's I'm still waiting for the day that my books appear in the Works, because that's when you know it's gone through the system and they're being discounted to like a $5 a pop. So that I'm still looking forward to that day. That's when you know you've made it. When your books are in the Works for a $5, but not yet.
I'm going to do a Mr. Beast style video where I buy 100 of them and go and hand them out to underprivileged youths. And they'll go, "What's a Game Boy?" and smack me over the face with it and then stab me. Andy, you bought a Steam Deck yet during this podcast?
No.
You going to do it?
Yeah, I probably am, aren't I? Like, it's going to happen. Yeah.
You'll annoy yourself if you don't.
Well, the thing is, I mean, obviously, I got a long flight next week, and it says 2 to 5 business days, and that's sort of like now.
Yeah.
So, but I like, if I buy it, it's just going to arrive when I leave for Heathrow, and that's going to piss me off. So,
you think
I don't know.
You've left it too late? You think?
I would do it then. I would do it right this second. I'd finish this podcast and go and do it, because then it'll turn up in 2 seconds.
Pull the plaster off.
Phone Gabe and be like, "Here, mate, can you expedite me one?" Yeah. The next week we have. Oh, I can talk about a new game next week. We'll see how I feel about it then. YouTube, TikTok, search on YouTube VGC, a lot of good stuff over there. TikTok VGC_news. If you're watching the video version, you may have noticed I'm wearing this spiffy Bloodborne inspired but legally distinct t-shirt. We sent those over from Gambit Gaming. You can check them out, Gambit Gaming. And I didn't know they were doing this, but if you're a listener to this podcast and you go to Gambit Gaming and you put VGC in the checkout, they'll give you 10% off if you want one of these Bloodborne inspired t-shirts.
I'm reserving judgment until I get one. So
That's
I'll
fine.
take your word for it. I'll take your word for it for now.
Chris, here's my review. It's a black t-shirt. It's quite comfy.
I can see that much.
And it doesn't stick to me. You don't have to do the thing where you're like pulling it and stuff. It's I wish the arms were a bit tighter so I could seem jacked.
So what is it? Is it a Jordan 2 out of 5 or a Jordan 5 out of 5?
It's 4. It's fine. I can't be bothered with the argument. You can follow us on Twitter at Jordan Midler, at Scully1888, at Andy_Platonic. Go and tweet at Andy. Ask him if he's bought a Steam Deck.
Andy_VGC these days.
Andy_Platonic. You go and tweet him about if he's got a Steam Deck yet. And yeah, thanks to Grant Kirkhope for the VGC podcast theme. Next week we'll have a big game to talk about. But until then, say goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
Welcome back, CM Punk, and we'll see you next week.